Thomas Young. Malky, hello. Scotty boy. Paralevel totality. Where are we? I'm on a wee bit earlier this evening, catching people on the hop. Pretty sure. Gavin Fly, how are you doing? World Without Curve. Coding. West Belfast, how are you doing? Plain Talk, One Man His Detector, hello, I'm very well, thank you. Same to yourself, same to everybody. Hope everybody's smashing. Paul Gibbon, Imran, hello. Good things for all, hello Zach. Imran Ali, hello. I'm very well, thank you. Same to you guys. Good morning, Denver. It's morning, it's evening here. How can it be night and day? How can it be night time somewhere and morning somewhere if Earth's not a globe? Proof. That's proof that the Earth's a curved surface. Because it's dark and it's daylight somewhere else. Therefore, Earth's a globe. And globe-tardia logical reasoning. It's a conundrum, I mean, don't know. Oh no, we'll just avoid that and run away. I'm still seeing comments. What does it matter? What does it matter? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you are someone who believes whatever anybody else tells you. The fact of the matter is that, 99.9% of human beings do not know the objective truth of their existence, where they are, why they're here, how it came to be, how this set of circumstances came to be. We do not know what encompasses our, delusional, idealistic environment. You do not know the true objective nature of where you are and what you're a part of here. So there could be many, many reasons for somebody to lie. And then again, the majority of people that you know in your circles, friends, family, teachers, they're not lying. They're just repeating what they were told. They have belief and faith in a particular narrative. The fact of the matter is that they do not know the objective nature of our existence. So there could be endless amounts of reasons. No, guitar's not for sale, Malky. Shameen Gordon, Luca Graham, hello. Neil McRobb, V Thomas. Callum Jackson, Don Miguel. The greatest inquiry indeed. A fundamental inquiry. Yeah, try telling people that. Right, so I'm on early, I'm quite tired today, so I'm not going to last very long, but a few things, came up I thought I would have a wee look at. One of them is, is China. What's really going on with China? Again, I don't really know what's going on in their narratives, what's been spoken about within the populace of these areas. But I'm going to show you some footage that came up on my newsfeed earlier on from videos from space. And I had showed video footage from China's space exploration a few weeks ago. There's some very telling visible signs that something was wrong. I'm going to show you something else in a little minute. No, it was what was that I was playing there? Civil War, Guns N' Roses. That's the very one Pied Piper. So let me see. Let me just see here. In fact, I'll wait until people see that I'm on. What's been happening? Let me just cover a couple of things here. Getting questions regarding, talking about uniformity of motion, creating directional vectors, giving weight, to objects, creating density layers, and how, for me, the demonstration of motion can create these things. So I still get people who ask questions in regards to thinking that what I'm talking about is making an objective claim. I'm merely going through a process of reasoning and what reality and what I can demonstrate, in reality, to the possibility of how these things can come about. So when we're talking about the Earth system, we're talking about the reference frame of Earth, and how things are established here within the reference frame. So I continually get people saying, I've got a certain troll asking questions like, show us a practical demonstration of, a vector being created without constant acceleration, blah, blah, blah. Again, within the reference frame that's already established, you need constant acceleration, you need constant power in order to overcome it. So I get things like this, Earth can't be moving upwards because simple helicopter would crash if we were going up. And this is a type of, things for me that shows that people are not actually thinking about what they're, it seems like an emotionally impulsive reaction to something that they don't want to hear. If I suggest the possibility that the Earth's moving uniformly, and that's what creates our vector, that's what gives objects their weight and creates the density layers, immediately I get people going, ah! And looking for any illogical, irrational reason to hand-wave dismiss it. They're saying things like, if the Earth was moving uniformly, linearly towards our feet per se, then helicopters would crash into the ground. To me, that just shows the level of, unwillingness to contemplate and to investigate your reality and see what practicality can show you. A helicopter requires, just as I said a minute ago, a constant power source. It has to constantly push up on the air in order to elevate itself. A helicopter does not utilise power to get an inch off the ground and then cut the power off because it's achieved its an altitude, so therefore if you cut the power off it should just remain like this. No, it's got to constantly keep its power source on in order to maintain its altitude above the Earth. A lot of these things are just absolutely ridiculous. Gliders don't use engines, blah blah blah. Again, a glider has to be towed to altitude, and then a glider bounces upon the air. It uses the density of the air like a boat, aquaplanes on the water, which is why its hull is curved upwards so that it can bounce on the water. It's the same with an aircraft. An aircraft, pitches up the nose about 3 degrees or so that it can bounce on the air. That's why it has wings. It's the same with a glider. So coming back at me with these types of things just shows me that people are not actually thinking clearly. They're just looking for some bias that they think's reasoned and then throw it out there because they've got an unwillingness and insecurity, because again, as I would state, because of propaganda. People coming into this topic have heard the same propaganda over and over again. the Flat Earth Society are controlled government opposition. And the reason it's offered because of that is that they say the Earth's moving upwards. And immediately everybody jumps to ridicule and hand-wave dismissal, and they do not investigate any further. And anybody else that brings that up, ridicule. Just the same as the way the globe Earth proponents behave. Just maybe the same way that people behaved when they first heard about the topic of the Earth shape and people who dismissed the globe. You get these knee-jerk emotional reactions, and again, just because you've woke up to one narrative that's false, right, does not mean that you're no longer susceptible to your own bias. You have to constantly be, scrutinising your own bias, your own use of logic, how you reason. That's first and foremost, that's the most important thing. Because if you don't have, cleansed filters, then you're going to adopt all sorts of nonsense. Again, I've highlighted this point before, and we talk about motion. And again, for me, it still stands. Motion is the only thing that can demonstrate to me how we can create these vectors and have these density layers and have weight to objects. The only thing. Okay? But again, people are coming from a belief system of the heliocentric cosmology, globe Earth, where it's moving in 4 different directions simultaneously at differing speeds, while it all stays in uniformity and functions like clockwork in the theoretical, mathematical conception. That's preposterous. To think you can have rotating, gyrating, wobbling, oscillating, orbiting objects without things flying off them and sensing and feeling the constant change in direction. That's preposterous. But yet here we are, at simplicity, at practical demonstration, that every single person can repeat and will realise the same thing. But we still have people hand-wave dismissing. We still have, prominent personalities, shall we say, who refuse to talk about it, who refuse to engage in it, and who still put out mantric statements of stationary, immovable Earth. You have to be very sceptical of all these people, and first and foremost, as I say, you have to be very sceptical of your own bias and ask yourself some serious questions. Because when I see knee-jerk reactions like that, that tells me people have a bias. Don't know why. Again, it's back to this, people want stories to be true. People want stories that comfort them. Oops. I would say the same, Imran. And all of these people know what triggers them. I can surmise that propaganda, a number has been done on them in order to influence them. As I had said at the beginning of this, you mentioned the Flat Earth Society, or Flat Earth, or Level Earth, or anything to do with the questioning of the globular Earth, and what you're going to get is propaganda slung at you about the Flat Earth Society, how it's a government controlled opposition. And again, the reason that they give is because they say the Earth's moving uniformly. As I've spoke about before, Einstein is one of the proponents who spoke about this in the equivalence principle. Right? And again, when we look at Einstein's proposition of a uniform gravitational field, again, nobody even knows what that is. It's just mathematical terminology trying to explain how reality functions by use of mental gymnastics and mathematics, all conceptual. Right? Those two propositions of a uniform gravitational field and a uniform moving reference frame. And Einstein's statements and many other people's statements is we would not be able to tell the difference. The difference between those two things is that only one of those is demonstrable in practical reality. I'll let you guess which one that is. It certainly ain't, uniform gravitational fields. Yes, one man, he's detector, the one force that puts everything in its place. Yes, this is live, God Scott. Yes, Silent Ellen. As far as the laws of mathematics refer to reality, they are not certain, and as far as they are certain, they do not refer to reality. Again, people get caught up in this mathematical thing and think that it's the be-all and end-all. There's a very good reason why mathematics was shoved to the top and, idolised as the be-all and end-all, because they realised the potential to push narratives and stories. You could invest in certain agendas, storylines, and have them pushed. And if people adopt these storylines, then there's a scam, there's money to be made. There's power to be had. Davey Sevenark. Been a member for years too. Whatever. Good vibes to all except Flat Earth community trying to portray us as stupid. Yeah, you're certainly not being ignored in here, Davey. Yes, reality is the bully for a reality denier. Right, anyhow, so let me get to this China thing. As I say, are China attempting to flatten the curve? Because this is now the second time that I've seen this. Make it a bit bigger for you. What's this? Again, I'm not showing you this as, proof of anything other than that there's a contradiction here. Right? I think it's better. I mean, remember, go and look at your ISS. Right, wait a wee minute. Let me see here. These are the types of images that you're getting, right, from the ISS, the International Shit Show, right? These are your images you're getting. Pause it and let you have a wee look at that. Again, this is from Video from Space, 1.6 million subscribers. And again here. Look at that. And we're seeing enormous amounts of curvature here from the ISS. to this image. What's this? What do we have? And what are these patches here? Keep an eye on these patches. What's that light? Oh, back to that again. Somebody forgot to let China know that they're supposed to have a consistent curve to the fantasy concept ball earth. China don't seem to be paying attention. What's going on here?
What's a consultation fee?
You did ask a question about the wine.
With TalkTalk Full Fibre, the things that should come as standard do come as standard. It just makes sense. TalkTalk.
Back. How do we get from that to that? Very interesting. You want to hear what I think about it? Well, as I said at the very beginning, there's an obvious massive contradiction to what's supposed to be there. Again, all we're seeing is things on a TV. I don't even know where these people are. You know, what I'm saying to you is that from one footage to the next, there's contradictions. Chinese water torture. They were hovering over the flat spot. Thank you very much.
Did you want one?
Yeah.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah. The Queen died, have you heard? I certainly did. I seen, that brings me on to the next topic. I seen a thing about a guy called Alex Belfield. I had seen him popping up. I think he had some issues with other TV presenters, and apparently he's been given a 5-year sentence for online bullying. So I had been reading through some of it, and I thought to myself, what have people like myself had to be, subjected to over the past 7 years in regards to this type of behaviour? Again, people like myself are, objective inquirers who want to establish what is real and what is not real. I do not spew hatred. I even talk about, let me just talk about this for a wee minute here. There seems to me to be this attitude of fair game. So as I said before, people here in this confinement are free pretty much to offer up any product they want, right? So people offer products up and people either buy those products or don't buy those products. I think the fine line comes when we start turning our attentions to, in a threatening manner. That seems to be where a line is crossed that I don't think's right. It's up to you as an individual to discern. It's up to you as an individual to take care of your own children, your own offspring, and for you to be a guide in their, faculties, how they filter what they're experiencing while they're here on this plane. You know, and it seems to me, you know, my attitude towards like NASA or the space agencies or people pushing the globe, it's fine. If that's what you believe and you want to push that, that's fine. Don't come at me and tell me I have to accept it, right? So, you know, once we get into the realms of actually threatening people in a physical manner or having people fearing for their lives or any of that, I think we've crossed the line. However, you know, when I reflect on my experience of being online and the constant harassment, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, the constant misrepresentation of my stance, my position, the barefaced lying about my position, who I am as a man, what my content is, it's absolutely incredible. So, you know, again, we see these massive double standards, you know, when it suits certain, you know, narratives, they want to seek to impose some sort of punishment. But yet again, you know, I can be testament to my own experience of the severe harassment and intimidation tactics from this cult known as the Globe Earth, right? And it still goes on to this day. You can go to some of these channels and it's, as I said before, these people are professing that people like me are liars, incompetent, retarded, you know, any form of derogatory term you can think of, while at the same time making money off of our backs. You know, it's absolutely incredible. Right, and yet we've got one guy who shouts and moans about some BBC presenter and a few fans send some, you know, ugly emails or whatever, and all of a sudden this person's now serving 5 years. That would suggest to me then that these globe proponents are looking at a life sentence for the amount of harassment, bullying, intimidation, barefaced lying that's went on. Why? Because we don't believe in your fucking fantasy globe earth concept, while at the same time you're professing we're retards. Again, where is the moral compass? Where is the ethics of these people? Is that how you would treat? If I seen somebody who I thought was maybe, you know, retarded or a bit slow or in some form of struggle, I'm not going to spend my time ridiculing them and trying to stress them out and make their life harder. That's just not an approach that I would be taking. So again, you know, I say these things because you should know fine well that what these people say is contradictory to the position that they hold. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 7 years now, against a minority of fringe lunatics. I'm going to keep repeating that every time I go live. Where's our justice? Where's our day in court? You go to some of these channels, they're talking about dropping people off of buildings and inciting hatred and ridicule and stress towards people who are individuals and have every right to question their own reality. These people are that much on their high horse that they think they can take control and dictate to other individuals what they've to accept as being real and not real, while at the same time displaying an increasing amount of ignorance and stupidity, because everything that they believe is based in fantasy. They have nothing practical, they have no direct measures, they have absolutely diddly squat. They have created a religion centred around this image of where we exist. A very destructive, stupid religion based on assumptions, based on illogical propositions, requesting that you ignore your direct experience and your own sensibilities, requesting that you ignore those in favour of an image supported by, you know, explanations that do not match what you experience in reality. From that narrative, they get to push all sorts of agendas. They get to push scarcity. They get to push, existential religious stories. That being that reality came from nowhere for no rhyme or reason. Matter and energy and all this stuff just appeared randomly, organised itself, and culminated in you and I at this very day. Well, these people chastise and slag off other religious people who think that a creator created it all in 7 days. What you're witnessing is just another fraction of religion. Globe Earth heliocentrism is a religion. It's based on philosophical materialism. That's its roots. That's what, gave it its drive. Starting from that position and then trying to interpret your experience of reality to fit that preconceived bias of nothing. What's your starting premise? Nothing. Okay, where do you go from there? Well, I've got some word salad to offer you about infinitely dense singularities, which I don't even know what that is because I can't define it nor demonstrate it for you, but I'm just going to say it. Then we look around the world and we wonder why it's so disjointed. Why we have so many different cultures and none of them have the answer. None of them are displaying, a peaceful life. Because materialism, in two senses, the philosophical aspect of materialism that is the foundation has created this consumer, materialistic type society. Subliminally in people's minds, this narrative runs that there is no meaning, there is no accountability. All there is you, and get what you can for you and fuck the rest. Well, they still try and talk about morality and ethics and how to live a good life, but these people have to stop. They don't have any say whatsoever in that regard, if that's the narrative that they want to push. But that's the narrative that has gripped the world. And even people who are still trying to maintain some form of other religious bias are displaying the symptoms. Because all they give a fuck about is what they get for themselves. Well, they sit on their high horse thinking that they're, righteous and moral and ethical. They'll just know. They would be righteous if they stopped and admitted to themselves the true reality of the situation. I often say to people, why do you think there's so many cultures? Why do you think there's an endless amount of philosophical positions? Do you not see that these things are all symptoms? They are symptoms of our state, that being bewilderment, that we do not know, and we are constantly bombarding each other with ideological positions on our existence that don't stand up to scrutiny or match any form of reality whatsoever. Human beings have been stagnated by this religious doctrine of the globe earth, where nothing makes any sense. You're in an infinite void on a potato rock. So people there think, well, there's no way off and there's nothing else to discover. So now we have to try and formulate a reasoning of our existence based on that premise. And from there, the only result is going to be a never-ending procession of philosophies, religions, and any other ideology that a human being can conceive of. Because it's in the human nature to try and find out what their existence is, where they are and why they're here. And if you've been stagnated by the globe earth proposition, then what's going to happen to you? You're going to wander into imagination land. You're going to start, in enveloping yourself in academic studies of philosophy. And all they are is cul-de-sacs to keep you going round and round in circles, thinking that you're going to find something in an idea. You're equipped to explore the place you find yourself in. You're not supposed to sit still and fantasise over ideas about your existence. You're equipped to explore it directly and immediately. And if we all done that, there would be no need for any religion or other ideology, none whatsoever. And if you're going to have an ideology, it has to be kept in its place, that it's a subjective indulgence. Probably because you're suffering from a mental illness and you're insecure. You don't need a substitute. The only reason you need a substitute, a lie, an idea, is because you're weak. Now I don't mean that macho, strong, you're weak. No. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, you're both retarded and weak. What I'm saying to you is the factual truth. Unless you can sit in front of me with clear perception, with clear filters, and state, you do not know. You do not know where you are. You do not know why you are here or what this is about. If you can't sit in front of me with clarity stating that, then you're mentally ill. And it's as simple as that. The whole world is suffering massively from mental illness. There has to be a process of, what's that word again? I can't remember. But there has to be a process in order for us to get out of that and to address the illnesses. Because uncertainty breeds fear in people. And I don't know why, because I've lost touch with why I used to be in fear of not having certainty. As I say, the only thing I can point at is because it's a result of the circumstances that I've been born into. That you've been fed this message that other human beings have it all figured out. That there's daddy figures who have a moral and ethical compass and an intelligence that are going to convey to you the facts every time. And it breeds in you this attitude of, well, I don't need to think because there's other greater minds than me out there. And all I have to do is seek them out and they will feed me an answer that satisfies my own bias. That's pretty much 99.9% of the populace. That's how they behave. You ask somebody, I don't know that, I'm going to check on Google. And again, these things like Google and YouTube are very useful. They're very useful in a practical sense. Like if there's some aspect of my existence that I'm having a problem with or I've got a puzzle with, I can go into YouTube or I can go into Google and I can find other people who are showing their experience, and then I can reflect on that experience and say, oh, that was great information because it worked. But when it comes to the bigger questions, about our existence, who we are, where we are, why we're here, you're not going to find the objective answers on YouTube or Google. Those answers will only be satisfied when we have immediate full exploration. Unrestricted full exploration. Again, I spoke about this archaic, conception or notion of a monarchy, and it's all constructed upon, again, philosophical materialism and this proposition of hierarchy. you know. And when you create a structure like that, you know, the hierarchy is only there to, you know, feed the few. You know, it baffles me that we still have people who are emotionally attached, and I think it's a want to belong and to have some semblance of meaning in their life, so they view things like the monarchy, the royals, as a representation of a narrative that suits their bias and makes them feel content that they were a part of something definite and objective, you know. And then when one of them dies, they want to get through these, you know, learned behaviours of how to behave at death, and they all want to queue up and mourn and, oh, woe's me, look at how mournful I am, ooh. As if they're trying to, you know, project some deep emotional spirituality that they have. The reality is that they're totally disconnected. You know? I mean, do these people actually think that the royals or anybody else in a position of the hierarchy give one fuck about you? And I see it mentioned, the Stockholm Syndrome. That's what we're seeing. Queues of people want to go up and outdo each other. Virtue signalling, competition. Who can outdo who the most? Again last week, you know, Ibrox Park, a Scottish football team, Rangers, right, making this big fucking palaver about this royal, right? And I've laughed about this before. And again, I'm no sectarian or biased in any way, shape or form. I don't give a fuck about any of that. It's irrelevant to me. But I think the hypocrisy is absolutely staggering. You know, so you get these fans, right? All this stuff about the Queen and the loyalties to the Queen. These very same fans, in no even a week's time, in a couple of days' time, are going to be joining in to support Scotland, the national team, where they're going to sing songs about, you know, sending the royals home to think again because we conquered them. And then the very next week they're going to be back to singing God Save the Queen. Because they're fucking retarded. The same as every other fucker. Totally and utterly insane. But no, that's normality. That's a good life. That's normal. That's what we do. But people like me, who are objective inquirers, we're the insane ones. I'm insane for even talking about any of this stuff. And not only that, you know, it's like the levels, the complexity and levels of this delusion, right? We've spoke about patriotism and the absurdity of patriotism, being patriotic to some idea of an imaginary border of dirt and water, right, that you feel a part of. And all this pride and English pride and this, that and British pride. These people who you call your royals are descendants of Germans. Their true name is Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. No Windsor. Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. Changed to Windsor so that they were more appealing. So you've got Scottish people who love the Queen, hate the royalty the next week, back to loving the Queen, who's actually German. And all these English people that are running about, ooh, mournful, ooh, woe's me, look at me virtue signalling, I'm more mournful than you, I loved the Queen more than you did today. I've got 15,000 cups and saucers of the Queen's face. All these idiots worshipping Germans. Aye, but they hate Germany. But they love the royals. You know, when people come here attacking here and this topic and saying we're mentally ill, no, these people need to turn their attention to this type of behaviour. Because there you're seeing mental illness. Extreme forms of mental illness. I've said it before, you know, this is the darkest dark ages for human minds that will probably ever be. But again, as I said at the beginning, you know, this is a structure that's set up in order to contain the cattle. Because the main priority is not to have the cattle wandering about freely in case they make discoveries on what else is actually here. And again, they're stifling that inquisitive aspect by offering you this space nonsense. Because to the inquirer, the explorative, you know, nature that's in people, they have a yearning. But that yearning is quashed when they're met with the narrative of everything's discovered. You're on a ball and there's millions of miles between you and anything else, and there's no way to ever get there. But we have these branches that we call space agencies who are endeavouring to explore on our behalf. Because again, that's the rational approach to have. That you allow other people to explore on your behalf and then to feed you stories of their exploration. Well, they show you cartoons on the TV to support their stories. And again, it baffles me that it's so simple. Why can people not just see this? You know, I've seen people recently reacting to these space universe videos, and my comments are always the same. These are cartoons. Snap out of it. You're enveloping yourself and missing because you're using your imagination to try and picture it as a reality, but you're missing the very fundamental aspect that they're showing you cartoons. They're not showing you actual real world, real reality stuff. They're showing you cartoons. Just like any other entertainer, hypnotist on the street, they require your participation, your want to participate. So you miss that it's a cartoon because you think it's so big and marvellous minds have figured it out. So you just have to jump in blindly and submerge yourself in the imagination of globe earth heliocentric fantasy and totally miss the cartoon parts. It's amazing. So we've got people that love the Queen one minute, hate the Queen the next. You know, patriotic to their country, although their Queen is German, while at the same time thinking that they're standing upon a nature-defying, gyrating, wobbling space testicle with curvy bent oceans and people antipode to them standing feet to feet on the other side of a space testicle. Science. Aye, science, alright, the fucking science of storytelling. Well, the COVID stuff's not important because the Queen's dead. And again, people talk about we're a democracy and we're free and this, that and the other. Are you really? Well, the Queen died and all of a sudden people are being told unlawfully what to do, what not to do. And that everything's to take priority. You know, the royals and their stuff have to take priority over everything. And people are still in this fucking delusion. And again, you're not allowed to say this or that. Don't you dare. I mean, there was some guy that says to Prince Andrew, you're a bad man. And he was jumped on and arrested. Oh, we live in democracy, we live in freedom, unless you say something we don't like. No, it's just another branch of the cult of control and domination. No, I've not seen that, Vinny. You need to send me a link or something. You know, you'll be unbelief. It irritates me. You know, look at the state of your own environment, your own community, your own family, and people are running out to virtue signal some stranger that lived the life of fucking Riley, that gave no fucks about any of these people. You know, did they come round with their fucking horse and carriages when your granny died? Huh? I get the same. Oh, but it was good for tourism. What? She was good for tourism. Alright, okay. Again, people just throw this stuff out and think, well, I've said stuff, so therefore you need to accept my reasoning as being sound. No, I just look at you as an absolute fucking buffoon. And because you don't get a comeback from me, doesn't mean to say that you've silenced me or I think you're right. No, I'm just not going to deal with fucking retards. If you make statements like that to me, I'm going to dismiss you as a complete and utter fruitcake. Because that's what you deserve. Rehabilitated, that was the word I was looking for earlier. These people in my idealistic world would be put into centres to be rehabilitated, to fix their insecurities that breeds their fear, that leads to illogical, irrational nonsense. Exactly, Chris. Exactly. I heard this afternoon apparently some guy tried to run up and grab the box or something. But people are all queuing up, abandoning their families to queue up to fucking, you know, virtue signal to some stranger that they think's in a box. There's Craigie Boy and his security team. I seen I had an email from that muppet telling me that he's got the document just about ready. Fucking whatever. Yes, Davey. It's exactly what the birth certificate was. And again, these people have been trading on your birth certificate since the day you were born, and there's a monetary value to that certificate that you've not been privy to. But I'm pretty sure if you pursue it, and it's something that I need to think about, but life catches up with me and there's so many aspects, but if you pursue it, I'm pretty sure that you would be entitled to it, because money and, you know, things have been made off of your back. The creation of that birth certificate has allowed trading to happen on your behalf that you have seen nothing of. Well, at the same time, the cheeky bastards come back to tax you on your own endeavours while they're making money off of your birth. I'm not signing anything with that fucking fuckwit selling alien. Again, we don't even know the life that these people are having, these royals either. Again, you've got to think about that these people are born into that situation. We don't know the level of brainwashing and influence that goes on. We just don't know. All that I'm talking about is what it represents, and the silliness that it represents for me is totally archaic and something that has to be gone immediately. But these people as humans or individuals, regardless of what you want to think about them, I do not know the situation that they're in, what goes on behind closed doors with these people. I have no fucking clue. So I'm ill-informed. I cannot jump to any conclusions about who they actually are. That's just the reality of the situation, you know? Again, just like I said about the NASAs and the space agencies, royal families and any of this ideology, it's a product, you know, and it's of no effect on me because I just don't buy into it. I don't have to destroy it or, you know, physically attack these people in any way, shape or form. I just don't buy into their ideology. And I wish people would grasp that. When you give your attention to these things, you're propping it up. Turn your attention away. Refuse to participate in it. And it's not going to exist long. Because it becomes if people's attentions are there, it becomes a very useful tool to influence and manipulate people. If they see that people are not interested and not paying attention, then they'll drop it. Because it's no longer a useful tool to them. Because all these things based in hierarchy are there as tools to lever your attention and to make sure you stay within the confines of what they have denoted as being your earth. That's the only reason it's there. They are tools of leverage. As soon as you realise that it's a tool to leverage your attention, that has no power over you anymore. What's wrong with your own ideology? I don't know. What ideology do I propose? If you can be specific and talk about what you think's my ideology, then I would respond to that. We live in an open prison. Your own truth there? What do you mean my own truth? Again, you're just saying things that don't have specifics. What's my own truth? Exactly, you need to elaborate. There's no conversation to be had. This is just a blind attack on you trying to, score points by saying I've got an ideology and then saying my ideology is my own truth. What is my own truth? What I know to be true. In regards to what? Be specific. I know it's true that if I, ram that into my face very, very hard, that it's going to cause lacerations, swelling, bruising, bleeding, and it's going to be painful and I'm not going to have a good time. That's not an ideology. That's an objective fact. No requirement of belief or faith or any of these things. So you need to be specific. No, I know you're not attacking, but this is useful because, you know, this is forms of communication. I don't know what you're getting at. I'm not attacking, I'm saying your truth is true in my opinion. I'm not interested in opinions. See, you're talking about from the perspective of subjectivity, like I have some subjective, you know, narratives that I interpret everything to fit. I don't know the truth of my existence. I have no filter of bias that I'm trying to interpret things to fit. There's just this objective world, and then there's this subjective part that I call the internal workings, my preferences, what I like, what I don't like, blah, blah, blah. And I identify those as subjective and specific to me. Nothing to do with truth. Absolutely nothing to do with truth. Subjectively, I like Earl Grey tea. It's a truth, but it's my subjective preference. It's not a universal objective truth because some people don't like it. So this is what I mean about being specific. This is the very next video I'm going to make. And I'm going to have the camera here and I'm going to have the paper. And I'm going to talk about objective and subjective and how my mind works and how I filter things. And I'm going to ask people to offer me up different examples, different scenarios, and I'm going to break it into objective components and subjective components. So I know it's not an attack and things can get passionate, but these practices are, for me, can be very, very useful in order to help people realise the workings of their own mind. I just have two simple filters, and those filters are objective and subjective. Is Earl Grey an actual thing? Tea bags are objectively real. They have a substance in them, they have a flavour, blah blah. These are in the categories of objective because it exists in the objective world. It is objective. Everybody can verify that Earl Grey tea bags do indeed exist. And then we jump to this subjective component where it's a personal thing, a preference. I like Earl Grey tea. Objectively they exist. Subjectively I like. So that's a truth to me, but it's not an objective truth. So this is what I'm saying about have to be specific. Here's plain talk. That's the very next thing. It's been on my mind for a while. So that's going to be happening through the week. 100%. And everything that comes this direction, we're going to utilise the filters. And I encourage you to do it yourself. Get your own pen and paper or your own pen and whiteboard and practice it yourself. That way you can identify where your own biases are and where you're deluding yourself. Ellen DeGenerates, hello. Boris, hello. Boris Jobs. Okay, Henry, I like the globe. Subjective to all globers. But that's it, you know, a globe Earth only exists through a subjective bias. It does not exist as an objective, three-dimensional, tangible object. It's only conceptual and exists only because people want it to be true, not because it's objectively true. Globe Earth's a perfect example. Dale, have you seen George Lucas' first film, THX1138? No. Nope. Hello, Tanya. The guy escapes the trapped world up a large pipe. I think a lot of movies have symbolised that, you know. And again, it's very, very true. You look at the structure, look at the power structure and what its, you know, duty and role is. To say it's only to subdue you and restrict your movement and to fill you full of ideological fantasy about who you are and what your existence is and what the possibilities are for us. It's all based in the imagination. It's not based in objective, you know, exploration. That's all been quashed. You know, even air travel and boat travel now is automated, where it's computers. You know, the majority of these people now don't utilise anything practical, anything hands-on. They get in these craft, and these craft pretty much drive themselves to where they have to go. Well, the ship's captains and pilots sit and fucking scan TikTok on their phone, same as every other fucker. But again, people are under this illusion, oh, it's a pilot, super intelligence, he must live some superior. No. He shits, his farts are stinking, he has to piss, he gets ill, he has to sleep, and he sits and scrolls through TikTok. Just the same as the other derps. But it's back to this investment again in this imagined hierarchy of superior intellect who have a moral compass and an ethical, you know, duty to serve you with truth and justice all the time because you're a little naive fucking snowflake. Kaz, Veronica, I just seen that you were there. I'm sorry I missed you. Hopefully we can catch up tomorrow afternoon if that's good for you. Yeah. And that's it, and remove your power by removing you from the centre of everything. So you can look at that in, you know, twofold. People talk about the centre of everything as being the earth and being the centre of the universe. But for me, the job's been done because they've decentered you from your own being. They've managed to shove you at the driver's seat of your own faculty and replaced it with some pseudo-intellect ghost. So the majority of people are now in the background and not here actively discerning and filtering what's coming in. They've just placed their faith and belief in some hierarchy. Superior beings are going to fill their mind with what's truth and what's no truth, and that they don't have to ever give it a second thought. And you can see that in the cases of the street interviews, where people are smugly and arrogantly, you know, taking the position, yes, Earth's a globe and blah blah blah, and then you try and just break beneath the surface a tiny little bit to the reasoning about why they have those positions, and you see very quickly that they end up like a fucking rabbit in the headlights because they don't actually fucking know because of what I've just said. They've been shoved to the side, they've been decentered from their own being, where they don't trust themselves, they don't utilise their own discernment, they don't pay attention to their own faculties, their own senses. But only when it comes to these bigger questions, because for all intents and purposes, for every other practical, you know, part of their life, brushing their teeth, wiping their ass, eating their food, driving their cars, they are there and immediately centred. But when it comes to these bigger questions, boom, they're decentered, pushed to the side, and some ghost takes cover or takes over, some authority ghost that they've invented. Science, government, PhD, I don't know. Right, so for me it's twofold. You know, you can say that they've decentered, you know, the earth from its position, you know, and sent it spiralling through the fucking conceptual universe. And again, going back to what I was saying earlier, that's why we have all these philosophies, all these religions, all this ideology, because that's the only thing that's going to come. These are symptoms of bewilderment, and it's not going to get any better. All you're going to get is reworking and rehashing of ideology and nonsense over and over and over again until people break the fundamental assumption that they hold, which is the cause of these never-ending philosophies and religions centred around your existence. Until you let go of the wolly twirly space fantasy, you're going to continually and perpetually go round in circles, searching within these realms of philosophy and religion for an answer. The Akashic Library. I think there's a lot more to that than people actually realise, just personally. That everything that's been and everything that will be already did exist and always will. You know, I always used to fantasise and imagine that when, you know, if, you know, we leave here when you die, that, you know, it's a bit like rewinding a movie. So for say I could say to myself, well, I want to go back and, you know, relive or watch or experience where I was on Tuesday the 5th of November in 1989 at 4 p.m. You know, just the same as you can rewind any movie to a specific point and play it from there and relive and rewatch. I think there's a lot more to be said on that than people give credit. But again, that's just me personally. Now we're talking subjectivity, you know. And again, it's fine to talk subjectivity. I think what the most important thing is that things are categorised and stated with clarity. You know, how many times have, you know, you've been in conversations, so, you know, there's a topic, say it's 9/11, right? And you say to people, oh, let's talk about 9/11. So 9/11 and everything that went on is a topic that you put on the table, right? And then as soon as you start talking about it, somewhere along the lines people forget that we're talking about a topic that's on the table and start looking at you as what you're talking about is that you're advocating or being a representative of. Because people have lost the ability to have discussion and to be objective in their discussions about any varying topic. Everybody jumps to picking sides and grasping at certainty, and then they project that everybody else must be doing the same. So when you try and have conversations or discussions with people about certain things, immediately they're pigeonholing you in their own mind because they're not really paying attention. And that happens continually through life on all varying topics and different manners. I forget where I was going there. Totally lost the plot. Possibly selling alien. Again, I've spoken about this before. I think all these technologies are reverse engineered from what already existed, and what already existed was the environment we find ourselves in and the biological life that's here. I was talking again the other day about this, you know, this notion of artificial intelligence and people fearing artificial intelligence and blah blah blah. And, you know, again, look at your own body. It's a biological machine and it has its own intelligence. And I'll give you examples of this, right? So how many times have you been driving your car And you get to a destination and you think to yourself, fuck, I was somewhere else. I was thinking, but I still arrived at my destination. And I've done that before and thought to myself, I could have knocked somebody down. Anything could have happened and I have no recollection, right? For me, that's because this biological machine has got like an algorithm mechanism in it, much like we have in these technologies, where it requires your volition, your conscious participation. Same with guitar. It requires my conscious participation in order to manipulate the physical matter to, acquire this thing that we have, muscle memory, right? And once I've done it for so long, I can then turn my attention to other things and I can just go through the process, because it's like a artificial intelligence that's building its own memory and its own patterns, and then it activates these things whenever you're back in those situations or environments, right? That's why I say to people, stop looking out there for artificial intelligence like it's something that man's created. You're occupying an artificial intelligence. It's displaying it for you continually every day. You just have to stop and pay attention to what the fuck's going on, right? Once you've built up habitual patterns in your life, you don't have to have a conscious participation in them. The AI knows and takes over and performs whatever task, like driving the same road journey that you drive every single morning or evening or whatever. You don't have to consciously participate in it. You're wandering away imagining and thinking about all sorts, but you arrive at your destination. Why? Because you're occupying a sophisticated biological computer, an artificial intelligence. What's regulating your breathing? What's regulating your heart rate? What's regulating your body temperature, blood flow, processing of food? What's regulating all these things? Because you're not participating in it. You have no conscious participation in any of those functions, but they're still being fulfilled. For me, this is what shows that there is a separation between what I would call the you, the self, the experiencer, and the artificial intelligence, the biological machine that you call your body. So, artificial intelligence, fear propaganda, again, it's not so much about the actual stuff of robots and artificial intelligence. For me, it's a distraction to constantly have looking outwards at these man-made things while you miss the things that it's based on. All this computers and this sophisticated technology, they're reverse engineered from the biological life that was here. So don't go worrying about robots. Worry more about the fact that you're occupying an artificial intelligence, a biological machine that has its own program, its own protocols. And you can have an influence over it, you can take control of it if you put your attention to it. But the majority of people don't. As I say, they've been decentralised from the driver's seat, so that they're now a backseat passenger. And the magicians, the wizards out there are programming the artificial intelligence to perform and behave the way they want based on their ideology. They have hacked the machine. So Nelly, they have hacked the machine and they're doing a great job. And I've said it before, that's exactly what they are. They're hackers. Same as a street performer, a hypnotist, knows how to hack the biological machine, the artificial intelligence, in order to influence it. And I guarantee you, they require a biological machine that's occupant as a backseat passenger, which is why if you pay attention, they screen and they look for, they profile for certain people to perform their tricks. Because they can't have a conscious participator. They can't have a biological machine with an active driver. They need a backseat driver. That's the only way it's going to work. Now the simulation's based on something that already was. So what's it simulating? I think it's just a use of language. You know, illusion would probably be better than simulation. A sophisticated virtual reality filled with artificial intelligence. That being the ability to, you know, store patterns and predict patterns based on habitual, you know, practice. Again, now that you're thinking about it, look at the things you go through in life where you just do it without even thinking. Is it you? Because the thing that I would call you is that conscious part. That part that you call your volition, your free will. So were you applying that when you wiped your arse this morning on the toilet? No, Tony Malloy, YouTube removed them. Any of these where the main globe proponents have came onto this platform have been removed by YouTube. Probably because it was an absolute spanking they received. No, YouTube's fair and unbiased. Okay. Yeah, that's why it's so difficult for people to break habitual patterns, you know, because the body, the artificial intelligence feeds it, and people think it's them, it's their own volition, and that they want to participate. That's not the case. There's so many subliminal and influences going on with people. No, beyond belief. I asked them to be specific. I've still got the video. I'm intending to do a review. Again, it's one of the very few videos that I don't actually swear. I don't share any links. I don't play music. I don't anything. It's just talking about the game, that being manipulation and how they infiltrate any sort of movement and the tactics that are utilised. So it was probably for that reason that they removed it. That's fine, Luminon, because in your statement, I believe in the ball, that's fine, you're admitting that you have belief. And that's honesty. I don't mind that. You know, if somebody's honest about it, well, it's a belief, it's faith, then that's fine. You know, that's up to you, but it's just not objectively true. But if you want to, you know, fantasise and have beliefs, then you're free to do so. I don't pay any attention to any of them, COVID Carol. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in the circus. Flat Earth, Globe Earth circus, couldn't care less. The minute these people start talking about some fundamental aspects and asking some tough questions. I mean, ask these people that you're mentioning why they're not talking about what creates the directional vectors, what gives weights to objects, what creates density layers, and what they have to support the positions that they spout. You're never going to hear them talking about these things. Because I'm telling you, for me, these people are there to gatekeep. They're no different from globe earthers. And they promote each other and invoke these wee disputes and squabbles to get everybody in drama. And then it fizzles out. And then 6 months later there'll be other drama. Just to keep people occupied while they cash in on people's gullibility and fucking stupidity. So I'm not interested in them. Couldn't care less. Smudgy budgie, I know you're taking the piss, but you're entitled to that belief. At least you're covering all grounds. It's a hollow donut shaped cylinder, concave, convex, upside down level triangle pizza. Good way to cover all grounds, you know. Exactly, Brian. You know. Let's debate reality. Well, you can only debate your ideas of reality, your subjective bias interpretation of what you want reality to be. That's up for debate. What reality actually is, it's not up for debate. Sorry. So again, I'm going to remind people, when you hear this notion of debate, what you have to comprehend is that it's two people with ideology. Or, you know, we can observe a phenomena, something smashes into something else, right? There's no debate on the objective physical act and demonstration, but there can be debate in regards to the interpretation, that being the storylines that are created to explain what a human imagines just happened between two objects when they collide together. That can be up for debate. The actual physicality is not up for debate. Let's debate Brussels sprouts spinning through the galaxy. Well, that's it, Taurus 76 rising. And the lesson there is that you should never be placing trust, faith, belief. These are symptoms of the mental illness of human beings, as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's a testament not to, you know, to blame these people who push these ideologies, these falsities, right? Because again, these are just opportunists who are pushing particular products. It's the people that buy into it that are the real root of the problem. People have to eradicate belief, faith from their being, because they're, you know, hacks, they're viruses in the artificial intelligence. They just shouldn't be there. And anybody that tells you that, you know, you have to have is talking absolute shite. And again, I highlight this, there's a difference between, you know, faith, belief and things that are of objective nature to things like, you know, self-belief, how you motivate yourself to fulfill whatever desired, you know, goal you have set yourself. You can play with beliefs and these types of things to motivate yourself. You know, these are ritualistic practices that people have called magic over the years, where they use sigils, they use, you know, little thrones or you know, what do they call that? Whatever is required for you in order to attain a level of self-belief that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. Then we're talking about something different. That's talking about self-motivation. I've heard that, you know, I think from what the Satanic Bible, it was termed as, you know, transformative psychodramas. You know, talking about these little rituals and belief and how you utilise it, you know? Like, oh, my granny gave me this wee ring, so I'm going to use the love and relationship that I had with my granny as some fuel to give me the determination and motivation to achieve something because I think my granny would be proud. Then you're messing with belief internally in order to achieve a particular goal, which is fair game, you know. But in matters of objective inquiry, belief, faith, absolutely no reason to have any of them. Transformational psychodrama. Tony Malloy, I have spoken about that. I'm not going to digress into that, but I may talk about it again in the future if people want to talk about it. I'm not going to bother plain talk because, you know, again, philosophies, ideology, you know, if we're talking about, well, let's say for talking's sake that we're in some enclosed system that we cannot escape from or whatever else, then if we're going to all live here, then we can talk ideology, we can talk about our imagination. What do we want to make this place? You know, what do we want to achieve with this? What kind of lives do we want to live? And we can talk about that in that sense and have it opened as a broad spectrum so that people have, you know, their own subjective preference that they can participate in. What has to be, you know, established is that ideology should never be pushed onto everybody because it's a subjective preference. So, like, you know, all these philosophies, I just don't feel the need. You know, they're just, again, people clutching at straws, and some of them have good ideas of living and things that you can relate to, me personally, things that I would abide by, things that I think are good and that we should have if we agree that we're going to live as a civilization and have societies and this, that and the other, which again is a whole other fucking topic and a complex discussion about civilization, societies, what they actually are. You know, what's the requirement for them? Why would we have them? Exactly, beyond belief. Full exploration might lead to being unable to escape, but how about knowing instead of believing? Well, if that's the reality, then we know the reality. Then it's conscious participation, right? Whatever this reality is, this creation, this machine, let's make it a more enjoyable experience. Let's get rid of all this mental illness and these dipshits that want to turn it into a shit show. Let's put them in their place. I don't mean destroy them and eradicate them. No, just slap them into their place. Exactly, Smudgy Budgie. The crazy seem to be all the ones telling everyone else how we should live our life because they're fantasists. They're deeply insecure, living in fear, and want to control everything. How do we do this? Well, that's the problem, plain talk. For me, you know, walking the walk, walking the talk is the only way. You know, again, you have to be very careful that you don't descend into a Messiah Saviour complex, because again, that's you stepping over the mark. It's not about that either, you know. For me, it's simple. It's about, you know, having the discussions and having clarity with people through a process of reasoning, and again, identifying where the subjectivity aspects lie and what is the objective aspects. And I think if we can start from those two filters, we would progress a lot easier, a lot quicker, with a lot more clarity. Because right now, it's just a melting pot of both. Exactly, Armin. Exactly. Aye, Brian. Exactly. It's hard to justify any conscious objectivity when you lack the basic fundamental first principles of this reality. Yep. That's it. I mean, these are subjects, you know, paralevel, you know, visibles, tangibles, and first principles. These are subjects, again, that once I do the first video, we can start to filter things. Objective, subjective. How are we identifying things? Where do they belong? What are we talking about? Philip, keep me posted if you like more supplements. Going to listen to your conversation tomorrow evening on my flight. Thanks, Phil. Aye, Philip, I would like to get a wee conversation with you about that. With the Wim Hof stuff, again, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier about the algorithms, the artificial intelligence, where, you know, you can perform certain practices to train your attention to controlling aspects of your physical biological machine known as the body, where you can overcome certain patterns, but you have to apply your volition, your conscious attention has to be there. It's the same with everything, you know. I can't just pick a guitar up as a beginner and just go into, you know, unconscious la la land and expect miracles to happen. You know, you have to be there, you have to be consciously participating, and from there the artificial intelligence will build muscle memory and, you know, certain algorithms so that things become easier and you don't have to consciously keep putting yourself into that focus in order to achieve it. Same, DJ Brownie, I could not care less if there's fucking dipshits that want to hack my camera or listen to what I'm up to in my own home. It's a reflection of them. I'm not going to get annoyed about it. Exactly, Tony Woodcombe, you know, the more you spend on this, the more absurd and you get more clarity to the point of, you know, total absurdity. When I look at, you know, what we call civilization, societies, cultures, everyday practice, it is an absolute mess. Total and utter fucking lunacy. But it's became familiar to people, so they become comfortable in that familiarity, regardless of how fucking senseless and utterly insane it is, they've found a place of comfort within it. Dark ages. Well, any form of life that is insecure and seeks to control and dominate is eventually going to fall, because whatever the program of this realm, this reality is, it doesn't allow for an indefinite, prolonged dominance of these types of people. My experience shows me that these people always fall, because the lesson is that you can't control it. You can try and try and try, but you're never going to control this. The only thing that you control to an extent is your own being. That's where the responsibility is, that's where the only control is. And once the biological artificial intelligence has built up its algorithms and its habitual patterns, the only thing you have is the ability to say no. Right? Because the majority of people are acting impulsively based on these habitual patterns that the algorithm, the biological machine's feeding them. And when you become conscious of that, the only thing that you have to your availability is the ability to say no, to withstand and withhold from acting upon the impulsive, patterns that are being offered to you from your own brain. How soon do you think this might happen? Do I think you're seeing it happening? You're seeing death throes, you're seeing a panic. You're seeing it breaking down left, right and centre. And a constant scurrying to try and mop it up and patch it up. And it's getting worse and worse and worse for them. The more they scurry and try and patch it up, the more they dig themselves into a hole. Just like any liar you've ever met in your life. And they'll get away with it so long, and they may jump circles and no be found out, but eventually those circles start to merge and join up, and the perpetrators of the bullshit, the manipulation, the lies get found out. Many times have you experienced that on an individual level? You've seen it. It doesn't work. I realised that when I was a young kid. I realised that I could manipulate and play on people, right? But the difference for me was that I get no satisfaction from it. I had too much determination that never satisfied me. That's not what I was looking for. These people get a use out of that manipulative behaviour and they become hooked on it like any other drug. And they may think that they're having a good time and that they're successful for a period of time, but eventually the drug is going to take hold and ruin them. So I just sit back calmly, because I don't participate in these types of behaviours. People who are participating in those types of behaviours are going to fall, and they're going to be found out. Guaranteed. And if you go back to 20 years ago, think about like when I was a kid through the 80s. You could never have seen this position that we're in right now. Because people were so saturated and enveloped within the programming, the way of life, right? That it was just so normal and so comfortable. And now look where we are, 30 years later, 40 years later, whatever. They can't stop it. They can't sweep it under the rug. They can run about and try and patch it up all they like. I just laugh at them. don't think that these people are the arbitrators, the creators of reality, and that they're godlike. They're no. They're muppets, insecure, scurrying little dweebs who are being found out. Yeah, exactly, Chris. Exactly. No, I don't, it doesn't sadden me, plain talk. It's a lesson, it's an opportunity for humans to self-reflect. And if humans self-reflect on these, then chances are that it's going to be very difficult for it ever to establish itself again. You know? Again, using the analogy of once you've seen how the magician performs the trick, every time you see the trick, it has no effect on you because you know how it was done. As I said in the very first video that I put up here on YouTube, or the second video, it's a matter of learning the tools that they use. Once you comprehend the tools and you're not scared of utilising the tools, then the power is gone. Just like any hypnotist. As I say, hypnotists require a screening process. Like if you watched Derren Brown, a type of hypnotist from the UK, before he performs the TV show, he goes through a screening process where he's profiling. So he's identifying certain personality types, using the analogy as I stated earlier, where the person's not a front seat driver, they're a backseat passenger, and these are the types of people that require, because they've got a willful participation in it. They don't want to see the tools, they don't want to know how the trick works, they just want to be subjected to it and submerge themselves within it. But as I say, once you've learned how it's done, it's not going to work. You know? When you're 5, you might think I've pulled my thumb off. But once you learn that I'm just doing that, then the trick has no bearing on you anymore. Yeah, story in grey, that's a very good way of looking at it. And it's relevant to what I'm saying right now. The whole lesson here for me is about taking back your own discernment, your own power, putting yourself back in the driver's seat, centralising yourself back again to the power, because the power is yours. Nobody else is driving you. Right? Whether you're in ignorance and being influenced by other people, or whether you're a conscious entity participating and discerning, it always comes down to you. Where are you within it? Are you a backseat passenger? Because if you are, then you've created that for yourself. The power's with you, whether you're in ignorance or whether you're not in ignorance. Right, I think I've spoken long enough. I'm only going to be re-emphasising and rehashing what I've already said over and over again. I think the points have been made with clarity, and hopefully there was something useful in this for you. If not, hey ho. Has no bearing on me either way. But I'd like to see a world, I'd like to see my fellow man, being in active control and active participation. Right? Because I'm no needy and insecure. I don't have to weaken people in order to make myself feel good or feel superior. It makes me feel good when I know people are empowered, when they're strong, when they're independent, when they're no self-deceitful, self-deluding. It's the self-deceit, the self-deluding people that make me insecure. Take care of yourselves, people. I will see you very, very soon. Bye bye.